So our next speaker, our next gentleman, Mr. Chris Severs. Last night, I don't want to give it away, but we were back here planning, and he was going through his PowerPoint. There's a bunch of like bloody pictures on there, and so this guy plays rugby. Now, little known fact about me: I was the captain of my rugby team, scrum half at American University, and I said, I think I like this guy. But you kind of walk like a rugby player, so you can see it. But when I sat down with him, I said, but tell me your why. So he's the designer, the creator, the trainer for Anchor Point Training. I said, but tell me the why. He said, I'm a visionary, I'm a creator, I like to create things. But this rugby player, he then comes out with the words, but I love the connection of the mind and body, which is, if you've ever hung around rugby players, that's usually not the sense that you get. So there's a passion, there is a real vision behind what he's doing and Anchor Point Training beyond just the equipment. So without further ado, are you going to play your harmonica? He's a harmonica playing. Yes, yeah, at some point this weekend you're going to have to play your harmonica. Mr. Chris Severs.
Upon the wheel. Keep your eyes on the road and your hands upon the wheel. It's been 7 years since I started this, and I am here. I've arrived. I kept my hands on the wheel. I got a room full of people here, and let me tell you, this is a really wonderful moment for me, and I'm very, very grateful to be here. Dan, Cody, thank you very much. Where's my clicker? I need a clicker. Somebody give me a clicker. It was a harmonica. Needed a clicker. Awesome. Thanks. So I've got sort of three elements to what I'm going to present here. A little bit is getting you to know me and maybe like me a little bit. I hope to inspire you a bit as well, and ultimately motivate you to come to the training tomorrow to learn more about Anchor Point Training. It is a broad, wide, deep field. There's so much wonderful potential that is yet to be developed. Listen, boy, I've learned to listen. And here's the other thing I've learned: better is always possible. In anything you're going to do, we know that's true. Whether it's a tool design, an approach to exercise, it's always possible. To be your best, that requires passion. That requires a sense of purpose. These are passion flowers, by the way, in my garden. And I love that they're purple. And I love that purpose is purple. That's all I'm going to say about that. I got 70 slides. We're going to go very fast here. This is me in 1965. This is the beginning of my road to being an athlete, playing on a team. I am that kid right there. I was the happiest 10-year-old in Toronto when I played on that football team. Let me tell you, I was the smallest kid, youngest kid on the team. It was an amazing experience for me. I continued to play rugby until I was 56. I'm 60 now, and frankly, if I was still in Canada, I'd still be playing. First thing, you got to pick up the ball in rugby. Here I'm, all these shots here. You got to commit to the play. You got to be in support if you want to be in a good team. And you got to adapt or perish. And that's a fact. It doesn't always go the way you want it to go. So you've got to do that. You got to keep your focus forward. Resilience, that's victory. You cannot win if you're going to get knocked out. This is my daughter. After her first game of rugby, I tear up when I just look at this and say, ha. She came off the field, the team had lost by 40 points. This rugby club that she played for is a rugby club I founded in 85. I stayed in the game so I could play with my son when I was in my 40s. And then I was having so much fun, I said, wow, I can't keep doing this. That was the club 25th anniversary, a huge family, a wonderful thing. Anybody that's ever been involved in team sports knows what it is. I miss it tremendously, and I can tell you that one of the things that's part of my approach to business is the notion of team, of being on a team, of giving, of receiving, of feeling that camaraderie. Because that, for me, is part of my why. That's part of my purpose of doing this. This is where it started. I had a spa 7, 8 years ago on the shores of Brome Lake. Everything starts somewhere. Even right now, here I am in this point. What's next for me starts right now. It's just the way it is. It took a while to get here. Anchor point training is one end of a resistance tool being fixed while the other end is moved. It's a pretty simple concept. Examples of anchor point training tools: battle ropes, landmines, suspension training, the like. I've transitioned from now, no more bloody pictures. These are all beautiful pictures. You'll notice all the different poses here. The 3 fundamental things of anchor point training. If you understand these things, it's like the grammar of the approach. Then you understand how to manage it. All right, I've been doing this now intensively for 5 years. It's the only type of training I do. So I understand it very, very well. And I can say that of all the vocabulary of exercises for your trainers 20, 30 years, I guarantee you I can show you a new exercise. It's like, really? You can show me a new exercise? Yeah, I can show you a whole bunch of new exercises because there's a massive vocabulary available to you in this approach that's driven by 3 things. The anchor point or points, how you're connected to that force, and how you're oriented to that force. And you'll see as we go through this, if you reference back to those 3 things, I keep coming back to this. By the way, on the website, anchorpointtraining.com, there's a free ebook. I ask you to please get it. You'll be on my email list. You'll get tons of cool videos. It's a 50-page report that details this approach. I miss Mo. Seasons change. Our needs change as we get older. This is one of the things that I find that is so wonderful about this approach to training is you can train elite athletes with it and you can train seniors with it. I'm going to just highlight a few of the things that anchor point training provides that are pretty interesting. 3-dimensional resistance. Scalable degrees, very, very scalable degrees of resistance, whether you're working with elastic resistance or suspension, very easy to scale. Distance is resistance, how far you are from the anchor point. It's going to totally change how much resistance you got to work with. Full body resistance, of course, you're almost always standing on your feet when you're doing this type of training. So you're always training. Even if you're doing presses and rows, your core and your legs are still working. Anchor point training provides you with versatile connections to your resistance, the ability with these connections to progress the movements. You can start with a row, and then you can add a lunge. You can lunge in different directions. You can lunge. You can row unilaterally, bilaterally, contralaterally, ipsilaterally. There are just so many wonderful variations. Better is always possible. I keep coming back to that. It's one of my touchstones. And I apply this, by the way, to the design of the tools and everything I do. And I'm always looking for better. What is the next better? It's not, you're never done. It's convenient. Boy, oh boy, what a wonderful approach to training. It's so convenient. Once you know what you're doing, you take your anchor point tool, you can train anywhere. And to me, that is practice. That's the type of, that is the evolved practice, if you will, is the ability to train somewhere that you really enjoy it. And it's not just your body. It's your mind is involved. Your breathing, your whole concentration, what you're being mindful of in that moment, all tremendously beneficial to your training practice. Really the best practice. And the reason that I've stayed with this logo for all these years is because it, to me, represents mind and body. And even when I transitioned out of the spa, and Cody said, well, what are you doing? What's that logo all about? I said, well, look, it's mind, it's body, it's a big S. But it represents flow and energy, and I like it. These are some of the places I worked when I started to develop these tools in Canada. I'm a Canadian from Quebec. Really interesting places that had very specific demands. Concordia University, for example, has a great sports medicine program. I sought out the most demanding sports, so lots of MMA gyms. How'd they get in there twice? Lots of MMA gyms did a lot of training. The fellow that owns this gym, Canadian Black Belt Hall of Fame, he's got 5 black belts, trained with Bruce Lee. And I was lucky enough to train with this guy twice a week for 6 months. And the reason I got the gig was because I walked in, we were the same age, and I was in better shape than he was. And he went, "Psh, I got 5 black belts. You're coming here. You're training me." I got some pieces into, this is early days when I had developed this anchor system. You see here, arc, arc, arc everywhere. That was my gig. I had this anchor system that I thought was a better anchor system than anybody else's, and I still do. It's a very good anchor system. I've designed one now that is way less expensive. In the process of doing this, what happened was, I worked with the National Ballet of Canada. That was a big day. When the phone rang and I said, "Hey, it's the National Ballet of Canada. We'd like one of your arcs." It was like, "Oh, okay, I might have arrived." That was 3 years ago. It took a while longer. This guy, very controversial guy, but let me tell you, he's a genius in his own right, Nadia Aguilar. But he's pretty harsh on CrossFit and lots of other things. 3 years ago, I moved to Long Beach, set up some arcs on the beach, and started training lots of people. This was beginning to be my dream, training people on the beach. I dreamt of this living in Quebec. And here I am. I'm on the beach. I'm training people every day. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Had a lot of fun doing that. Lots of fun stuff going on at the beach. Got to train kids at the beach. Again, here you can still see I've got some prototypes of the anchor point tools I've developed. I'm working with the arc and having lots of fun playing around with slack lines, basically continually honing my understanding of this approach to training. This is what I do, anchor point training. Had a lot of fun training with a lot of different people, and I still do. I've worked with youth. One of the cool things about anchor point training, it's really appropriate for all kinds of very sports-specific things, which is how I came to this as a rugby player. What kept me competitive was not working so much on strength, but working on movement quality. And so that's what I did. I love Long Beach. I just love the diversity of it. It's an awesome place. It's a great place to have fun, let me tell you. You can train anywhere with this approach to training, anywhere there's a solid anchor. You can see now the tools are starting to evolve. I had a friend who does stand-up paddleboarding, and they were teaching yoga and different Pilates on the stand-up board. I said, well, you take the handles here, you put them around one end, and the next thing you know, you've got another way to work out on the water. There you go. That's a half-naked picture. I don't know how professional that is. Connection is the nature of things. And if you're to say, why is your stuff better? It's the connection design. Mostly, the long band is a cool thing, but the nature of the design of the connection piece is very, very simple. There are some patentable elements, thank heavens. But it's the nature of connection. How you connect to that resistance changes dramatically how the forces are moving through your body, the summation of forces, right? By the way, when I talk about anchor point training, the anchor and your connection and your orientation, I came to that after having a conversation with Nadia Aguilar where he talked to me continually about summation of forces, summation of forces. I went, wait, okay, that sounds like a formula to me. Well, those three things I describe are like, they're loci, if you will. They're locus points. They're points in the formula. How you change those things all change the summation of forces. So it became, in my mind, a bit of a mathematical thing. So the connection, there's the thing. I mean, you can lunge, you can change your angle to the anchor very, very easily. But the connection piece, that was the thing that needed work. There is a lot of shoddy products out there, right? A lot of companies will make a product, and they'll go to market with it, and they'll never change it. Why? I mean, I could look at a kettlebell. I could look at just about any piece of equipment. That's my particular talent, it would seem, besides a harmonica. To look at something and go, wait, that could be better. And it could be. And I can tell you right now, this piece I've got here that I hope many of you will train and buy, next year it'll be better. I'm sorry, it will. You might have to buy another one. I don't know. But the fact is, it's already way better than anything else out in the market. And why it's way better is because you can connect to this tool in more ways. Here I'm doing some shoulder work. We may try a little bit of that. Here I'm experimenting with some serape work just to show you how that long thing strap works. Here's a prototype just from 18 months ago. You'll notice it is a little different than the one that I've got now. But it was already designed to be a harness. The handle itself, you can use asymmetric force on it. It's just a really, really versatile piece of gear. You didn't think I was going to get through 70 slides so quickly, did you? I might have way lots of time for questions. A couple of weeks ago, I was at Dina's facility. There you are. Awesome facility. Did some training with her clients. You'll notice that little anchor system on the wall there. I did not design that. However, I have installed a couple of them already. A friend of Dina's did it, some pieces from Home Depot. A brilliant little anchor system for a wall, not expensive. And for a lot of you, it's the perfect solution. You don't necessarily need an arc, although the arc is better. But it's not always appropriate. So there you go. You can see it's a great little facility. It's very easy to do this type of training. Indoors, outdoors, very easy to set up for it. And of course, when you're not using the anchor point gear, no worries. I spent 4 days, this is Bedros' gym. I'm sorry he's not here. I wanted to show him this. Working with his people, they are so top-notch. If you're not involved in any of that world, I just can say, if everything I've seen in this industry, this organization is tight. Really, really tight. They really know their stuff. They will help you make more money. They will help you be better at everything you do because good attracts good. You know, there's like a certain level of excellence that just goes up, and that's just the way it is, and that's a winning team. And there is a sense of team, which is the other thing I like about these guys. They got a really strong sense of team. So that's some of the gear. Here's the thing. The more you know, there is more to know, right? I know a lot about anchor point training, but I've got still so much more to learn, you know. And the more I get this out to the world, the more it's going to come back to me, the better and better and better it's going to get. Better is always possible. Move yourself better. I am going to end this. I don't know what I'm going to have to play my harmonica for you at the last. Anyway, here you go. This is a little workout. Hey there, good morning. My name is Chris Severs. This is Margaret Lloyd. We've been training together on the beach here for over a year now. We love anchor point training down here. We have the capability of bringing this gear down, hooking it up to the lifeguard tower, and getting a full workout. I'm going to show you some of the things that we do every morning when we come down here, and we hope you enjoy the video. The routine you're seeing here takes about 25 minutes to complete. It's about 20 exercises. Depending on what the exercise is, we would do anywhere from 5 to 20 reps. You can see this is the progression that we use. First of all, it moves between a sort of a pressing and a pulling motion, lots of lunges in different directions, squats, lots of combined compound movements. One of the great things about anchor point training is basically you can train the whole time on your feet. This is very practical, functional training. It allows you to move from one exercise to another efficiently. Seniors particularly don't like getting down on the ground, to do exercises. A lot of people don't. And frankly, if you don't need to, why would you? That really is, I think, one of the big benefits of anchor point training. You'll notice here we're working out in the sand. It's barefoot. There's a whole host of benefits to barefoot training. One of the nice things about working out in the sand is you can really get into some nice extreme angles and your footing is very good. When you're anchor point training, it is important to mind your footing. Certainly if you're on a slippery surface, smooth surface, you can't get as extreme in your angles and you have to be mindful of slipping. That's one of the nice things about training on the beach in the sand for this type of work. One of the advantages of the gear we've got going on here are these double wide handles. They're very easy to work with two hands on them, different ways. From switching, you can switch from one hand to the other efficiently as well. There are a lot of different approaches you can use. They're extremely versatile bits of gear. Anyway, if you'd like to know more about this type of training and all these tools, certainly check out the website anchorpointtraining.com. You'll see a lot of interesting sport-specific type training and the like. Anyway, once again, thank you very much for watching the video. Cheers. The first time I did a presentation, and this is the second one I've done, it was at the inaugural NorCal Fitness Summit. I wasn't even at really a commercialization phase in what I was doing. had a big fancy schmancy presentation with sound and no slides, and I'd never done PowerPoint before. This is actually the first time I've done this PowerPoint thing. Anyway, none of it worked. So I had gear set up in the back. I said, okay, there were 60 people in the room, not 180. And I said, okay, everybody follow me back here. We're going to just work out. And I had an hour and a half. I guess there were like 6 speakers in the whole weekend. And we worked out for an hour and a half. It was awesome because I'm passionate about the subject and I had a lot to say. That was a lot more interesting than a lot of videos and the like. By the way, Margaret is 78 years old. And I hope you guys know that's pretty nice movement quality, right? One of the things I'll tell you right now is I got a couple minutes to freeform. But one of the things I really love about anchor point training for seniors is when you're working with suspension, is the idea that you're balanced. You're not actually having to row against it, but you can do all kinds of great assisted squats in all kinds of dimensions. You can get them working on one leg because they've got these other things in their hands, so they can get quite aggressive in their various movement patterns because they feel supported. They're not going to fall down. So particularly for the senior market, suspension training, awesome. These straps, you'll see, you can work them, again, around your wrist so that you don't have to hold. Some people, particularly seniors, have carpal issues. It's a great way to work around that. Mostly it's just tremendously versatile and scalable. And when it comes to seniors, like you saw Margaret, she's doing one-arm push-ups. 78 years old, she's doing a one-arm push-up? What are you talking about? Well, because she's using this much resistance. It doesn't matter. She's still getting the benefit of that cross-body unilateral work, all these high knees. At a certain point, this woman was never an athlete. She was never a dancer or anything like that. She was 25 pounds heavier than when you see her in this video. She couldn't stand on one leg. She couldn't do any of those things. The other thing I'll tell you about this particular client is that we've trained every day for the last 2 years, and there is hardly a session goes by that we don't progress one of those exercises to something else. That's how versatile it is. And so it really is an approach to training that deserves your attention if you want to be the best trainer you can be. There is such a huge, huge, huge vocabulary of exercises for you to do with this if you have the gear that is versatile and you understand those 3 basic things, the anchor point, the connection, and the orientation. You start to apply that to your own understanding of what it is you're trying to accomplish. And you realize, oh, if I do a row this way as opposed to straight on, how does that change everything? And we know that repetition is diminishing returns, right? You've got to work really, really hard to get results. But the more you do something, the same thing, the more you've got to do it, right? So I'm essentially, even though I'm a high energy person, I'm essentially lazy. And I hate not getting full value out of my workout. Consequently, I'm totally driven to always add progressive variety to what I'm doing so that I get that feeling of new work through my body. With this approach to training, it's totally, totally, totally doable. I have 8 minutes and 31 seconds left. If anybody's got a question, let me have it. If not, we'll get your timing back on track. That's it. I'm done. Would you like another song? Oh, Mark's coming up. You guys have the... Yes, sir.
Great presentation.
Thank you,
Chris.
brother.
Was that on a lifeguard tower, first of all?
Yeah. And they totally come by and they're totally cool with it.
Are you sure? Okay.
Oh, yeah, no, totally. Yeah,
It
they
was
love
interesting. It's the sand train. I might be the only one in the room that can actually do it on a consistent basis. So, But with the big company that has 3 initials, I think we all know who we're talking about, they're able to get under it altogether.
Right.
To have a lot of extra force. I actually like that position a lot for high force. Do you have something that's comparable, or can you? I never saw the ability to get under it, but pretty far close to it.
So that's a really good question. Thank you, Mark. We'll talk about the anchor point, the first element in the thing. So when it comes to suspension training, a vertical anchor on a vertical serves about 85% of what you can get at. With an overhead anchor, you've got that, as you know, that extra 15% where you can do full body weight. You can even shorten up the straps and do full calisthenic type body weight, or you can get your full body weight underneath it. But 85% of the approach is available to you. In terms of anchors, the wall anchor obviously is not going to give you that. The arc that you saw in the beginning totally was designed for that. So it's a piece that sort of goes up like this and fits in a corner on a wall. It only comes out on the floor about a foot. So it doesn't really take up that much floor space compared to like these big racks. But it's a very useful tool if that's important. It's particularly important to you. If you're in a high performance environment and you want, to spend. I mean, okay, so a Kaiser machine is what, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000? I don't even know. An Arc is, $700. Fully equipped, it's $1,000. You can have 5 of them for the price of a Kaiser. So that's the value proposition.
Yeah.
That's really all of this gear is simple.
Yeah.
Like it's designed simply. But
Did you mention you could calculate or calibrate what the angle is and how much % of body weight resistance that might be? Can you quantify it somehow? Like if they're at a 45-degree angle, they're at this amount of resistance versus 65 would be that?
I think you can.
Is that why you built the ARC system
I built
too?
the ARC because I wanted to create the most versatile tool to create all the vectors that I could create. So the nature of the ARC, it's a curve. It has clips on the inside to clip gear onto, and it has pins on the back that you can loop stuff around so that you can configure not only, because I work with long bands, by the way, and why I work with the long bands is to have a much more gradual change in resistance. They're a much more useful tool than these short bands. I mean, the resistance band business was a race to the bottom, and so there's so much cheapness and they make these little bands that you could do. Like, no, that's not what the tool is. The good tool, long band. So the idea of the ARC was to be able to create whatever angle of resistance you wanted, right? Like a cable machine. And also with all these hoops, you could, if you wanted to work this far away from it, I can. If I've got enough space to work over here, I can. And so you could configure the gear so that you could also, work in the space that you need to work in. Right. So that's why it was designed. The system at Dina's, we've installed one at Bedros' place now, is 4 hooks on a vertical wall. You put your high anchor, you put your suspension strap, and you've got a lot to work with. And then you've got all these hooks that you can just move these long bands up and down on. And if I want to work this far away from the anchor, pushing up, I can do it. If I want to be halfway across the room with using it long for running, I can do that too. And it's a dead simple solution, perfect for a clinic or really.
But you have that home version too that you can.
Oh yeah, I've got a strap that you can put over your door, and I got all kinds of. And it's only going to get better, Mark. Thank you so much for your questions, bro.
Thank you.
Thank you.